They laughed me out of the building 2 days ago, called me a lost civilian. Noise, they said. But when I stepped off that V-22 Osprey today, in full dress blues, even the guards who mocked me stood frozen like statues, saluting the woman they told to never come back. The base was already buzzing by the time I landed. Rumors travel fast, especially when someone like me walks through the wrong door. I wasn't there for drama. I was there for a scheduled, Pentagon-authorized security audit. But let's rewind, and I'll tell you how this all spiraled into the most unforgettable landing that base had ever seen. 3 days earlier, I'd walked up to the front gate of Harbor Bay Naval Facility. Plain jeans, old boots, denim jacket that had seen better years, hair tied back, no makeup, just a manila folder in hand and a mind trained for tactical assessment. I needed to be underestimated. It was part of the assignment. A test, really. Not of the base's tech or defenses, but its people. The guard at the desk, big guy named Mitch Harmon, didn't even look up from his coffee. I stood there, silent, just long enough to become invisible. When I finally spoke, calmly, respectfully, he glanced at me like I'd tracked mud through his living room. "Admiral Greaves doesn't meet with civilians," he said, without touching my credentials. He pushed my folder back with 2 fingers like it was contaminated. His supervisor, Thompson, watched the whole thing with a smirk, probably thinking I'd start crying or shouting. I did neither. I stated my purpose again, soft but firm. The meeting was arranged through Pentagon Command. Mitch chuckled. "Lady, this ain't the DMV. You can't just show up and see a 4-star. I was warned it might go like this. But still, when Admiral Greaves himself showed up, I hoped for better. He looked right through me. Same assumptions. Civilian. Probably delusional. Said there was no meeting on his calendar, told me to leave the premises, and banned me from returning. His voice carried through the courtyard, made it a show. People stopped to watch, some laughing, others just uncomfortable. I stared him in the eye and said 6 words. "You'll remember this day, Admiral." He would. I walked away calmly, boots echoing off the concrete. As I crossed the street, I dialed a secure line and said just 1 word. Activated. 3 hours later, in a Pentagon conference room 5 states east, General Marissa Doyle heard my report. Her pen scratched faster with each sentence. 15 security violations in under 48 hours, I told her. But worse, discrimination, procedural arrogance, total breakdown in command humility. Doyle knew my file inside and out. She was the one who gave me my call sign, Phantom. Said I could slip through enemy radar like vapor. 3 tours, 200+ missions. That messy op in Kandahar they still won't talk about. Yeah, I'd earned a few ribbons. But after I left active duty, I asked for silence, refused every media request. Even my Medal of Valor was awarded in a closed, classified room. Doyle sighed. "It's time they met the real you." I hesitated. "You sure about that?" She didn't blink. "Suit up." That night, I stood in front of a mirror in a motel outside Mira Vista Air Station. My dress blues hung untouched for years. The fabric still crisp. The metal still heavy. I looked the same. Slim build, soft voice, no fuss. But in uniform, I carried weight. And tomorrow, that weight was going to land square on their parade ground. I did my pre-flight at dawn. The Osprey's rotors cut through the silence like an announcement. Justice was coming in low and loud. Frankie, the old crew chief, saluted when he saw my helmet. "Ma'am, it's an honor. Been a long time since we saw the Phantom fly." Clearance granted. Course filed. I left the tarmac and the past behind. When I crested the hill toward the naval base, the whole coastline lit up gold. California mornings have a way of turning even tension into beauty. I dipped the Osprey low, right over the comms tower, just enough to make sure they looked up. Then I brought her down, dead center on the parade ground. Not the airstrip, not the helipad. The parade ground. Dust flew, papers scattered, and every uniform in earshot poured out of buildings like ants after a shake. Admiral Greaves stared from his office window, white as chalk. Mitch and Thompson stood slack-jawed in the courtyard, suddenly realizing what "you'll remember this day" really meant. The ramp lowered. I stepped out. Full blues, metals gleaming, sunglasses on. The wind caught my jacket just right, and I swear, I felt the weight of every woman, every vet, every dismissed soul walk with me. Silence. Then, click. A young private, barely old enough to vote, lifted his phone. I made eye contact with him and nodded. He hit record. I walked to the center, took off my glasses, raised my voice, not loud, just enough to carry. Permission to address the base. People froze, not out of protocol. Out of shame. Greaves came down, slow, stiff. He tried to speak. "Major, I believe there may have been—" I cut him off. "There was no misunderstanding, sir. I came with authorization. You dismissed me because of how I looked. You saw denim and boots, not service." He stammered something about credentials. I asked him one question. Should basic respect depend on appearance or rank? That hit harder than anything else. It wasn't about me being a major. It was about me being a human being. I told them what they missed. 15 separate failures. Not one. Not two. 15. And none of those breaches were as dangerous as their arrogance. Then I gave them the real surprise. I'm establishing the Whitman Integrity Grant. Scholarships for vets and families who face dismissal based on how they look, not who they are. A wave of silence passed over the crowd. Then something changed. Greaves stepped forward. For once, he wasn't the admiral, just a man trying to salvage what dignity he had left. "We'll launch new protocols," he said. "Base-wide respect training. This place will lead the Navy in what it should have already known." Even Thompson and Mitch walked up. Mitch looked like he'd swallowed gravel. "Ma'am, I'm sorry. I didn't see you." "No," I said. "You saw me. You just didn't look." The young private who filmed everything? I walked over, handed him a coin, my squadron's mark. "You knew something was off. You paused. That matters." By nightfall, the video had gone viral. Veterans everywhere shared their own stories. Some cried, some raged. Some just said thank you. And me? I flew back home, sat on my porch, and watched it all unfold quietly. People ask if I'd do it again. Damn right I would. And next time, I might not land so gently. So who was really in the wrong here?